Yo, I'm coming from that 3-6, so that's why I got them brains spinning. Ain't nobody using blinkers, we ain't good at lane switching. Better get a plane ticket, I ain't flying all you chickens though. Always shoot my shot, better switching off the pick and roll, dishing off the give and go. All my squad is driven so you can catch us on the road. Promise we ain't doing
Rip City, are you listening? I'm Christian Gamalin. I'm talking with co-host Austin Caphammer, and this is the Peeps and Plaid Podcast. The 50th anniversary season has officially begun, and unfortunately, the 18-game home opener streak for your Portland Trail Blazers has ended as the Denver Nuggets came into Portland looking for revenge after the Blazers crushed their dreams in Denver in Game 7 of the Western Conference semifinals. The Blazers lost. My voice is lost, but all hope is not lost. Though they may be 0-1, the Blazers played well in many aspects of the game. Big performances from Damian Lillard and Hassan Whiteside made this game a tough one to lose, but Austin and I are going to break down what went wrong, what went right, and what we're glad to see in the first game of this 50th anniversary season. So I was at the game, that's why I can't talk right now, and Austin was watching on TV, so we'll have slightly different perspectives, hopefully. Before we get started, I just want to say two things. First, I predicted the Blazers would lose, unfortunately. I don't want to be that guy, but I'm that guy. I was pleasantly surprised by many aspects of the game. I thought they played really well in a lot of ways, and I was still really disappointed in a lot of other ways, mostly because of how well they played in certain aspects that it didn't continue in others. Also, second, I've been calling this three-pointer thing with the Nuggets since last season. I was at a regular season game against the Nuggets last season, and anytime they were open, it doesn't matter 1 through 5, Paul Millsap was hitting threes, Jokic was hitting threes, Will Barton, Gary Harris, Jamal Murray, everyone's hitting threes. It's the same thing tonight. Some teams are going to miss them if they're open. The 76ers, they're not that deep of a team. Their point guard can't shoot. They're not going to make that many threes. You know, Joel Embiid will get a couple on you, and you'll be like, shoot, should have defended him. But the Denver Nuggets, no matter who, they're going to hit the threes if you're leaving them with even just a little bit of space. So now that I've gotten those 2 points out of the way, Austin, what were your initial reactions to this first game of the season?
Well, Christian, my first initial reaction is I'm going to crack this lovely Mountain Standard IPA just to help cope with our first our broken loss streak. What the hell, man? Excuse my French, but that was messed up. I think it's ironic that we had the novelty of it being the 50th season simultaneously breaking that. Did you say it was 18 years? 18
years of home opener wins.
And my father is by no means a sports fan, really, of almost any sort. But even he shot me a text here this afternoon and was like, you know, the Blazers have like is it the longest? Can I use that superlative? Was it the longest home opener streak?
Yes, longest in history for home opener streaks. The next longest I heard was the Celtics with 14. But that streak isn't current. That streak has ended.
Well, you know, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that had to go. But you know, it is what it is. I think that before I get diving into this game, I think it's worth noting that I also saw a tweet earlier this evening recognizing that the Blazers, after it was announced that Salt Lake City is having the 2023 All-Star game. They won that bid, the Blazers. So the Blazers lose an 18. I'm not even going to focus on the fact they lost it. They had an 18-year home opening win streak. It's their 50th year. I don't know. It just seemed like give us an All-Star bid. I don't know, but I'm assuming Salt Lake City probably wasn't a perennial destination for that bid either. But all those things aside, you and I talked briefly before this episode about how, you know, there's still a lot to look forward to, a lot of good things. I have all my statistics written down here, as noted plentifully by the announcers, Mr. Lamar Hurd and Kevin Calabro, who shout out to both of those guys. 19 turnovers for Denver, 20 for the Blazers. So definitely a lot of first game jitters, I would say, on both sides of the court. Denver had shot 56.3% from behind the arc. In total, 18 for 32 for 3 points, 3-point shots. Wow, I sound like a nerd. But the Blazers, had shot 7 for 28 behind the arc, so 25%, not so good. But what's so impressive is they managed to still shoot 41.4% on the night, and Denver had shot in 42. So what does that say about the game, right? That says that Denver recognized that Hassan was dominating. What was that? I should stop for a moment. What was it like? What was the climate in the arena like watching Hassan kind of put on that show in the first half?
I mean, Hassan was just killing. He scored the first points of the season for the Blazers, unless I'm remembering wrong. And it was off of an offensive rebound, getting a dunk, just right off, like just so much aggressiveness. When he gets the ball, he just goes straight to the basket. Yeah. And all night he was getting rebounds. We knew he was getting rebounds. I'll say there was a couple times in the second half where I wanted to see a little more aggressiveness from him, where he'd still get rebounds, but they were kind of falling in his lap. But I'll talk more about that later with.
But it looked effortless.
Yeah, I mean, he was killing it. He was in great position all night. He was scoring. He was doing really well. I thought Zach Collins did pretty well too, and Skal really surprised me. Did really well in a regular season game. So yeah, but I'll just get to what I was going to say with Hassan on the 3-pointers. Nikola Jokic, he can hit threes. Obviously, he got into foul trouble early. He had 3 fouls in the first quarter. Early in the first quarter, it was like 3 minutes. And so he didn't play the rest of the first half, which was awesome. And the Blazers didn't capitalize. I was seeing on Twitter, everyone's like, oh, shoot, the Blazers aren't capitalizing. Me watching the game in person and kind of like detached from like all the stats and the announcers, what they're saying, all that. It seemed like the Blazers playing well. But yeah, I wanted them to capitalize more with Jokic out. Stotts kind of went straight to a full second unit. I mean, Dame stayed in for the whole first quarter, but there was a whole platoon swap for the Blazers, which was a little.
Let me hit on that here just for a second, Christian. I made sure to add this up and note this, and this was something that was noticeable just as somebody that was watching the game. Tolliver, who, I mean, he really didn't play that many minutes regardless, but Tolliver, Hezonja, excuse the misspelling on Twitter earlier this evening and in weeks past, but Tolliver, Hezonja, and Bazemore, guess what those 3 combined for field goal wise?
Well, I know Baze was like 2 for 7. Hezonja, I know he missed a 3 and missed a whole lot of other things. Tolliver missed at least 1 3. I'm guessing they were like 3 or 4 for 13.
Mm-hmm. I could be wrong. Maybe I added it up incorrectly here, but my math reflected 1 for 11 between those 3 players.
Oh goodness, yeah, it was Simons that was 2 for 7. Yep. 1 for 11. It was great.
That's terrible. So I mean, you can't necessarily count on CJ going 5 for 18 for only 12 points. Although he still went 2 for 4 behind the arc. But one thing's for certain, those 3 guys have to do something, right? Yeah. I don't think anybody necessarily expected them to come in and be necessarily even game-changing players, but they're role players. And I think Hezonja and Tolliver didn't make a shot. And once again, Tolliver, limited minutes. You know, he missed an open 3, whatever. That's not going to happen too often. But I'll just take a stance, and I usually try not to hate in my day-to-day personal life, but you know, this is our hobby, this is our job. We're supposed to talk about what we like and what we don't like. I don't as of right now, I don't know how confident I feel in Mario Hezonja. I think that whereas Whiteside has some tangibles that transcend offensive systems that I had noted in a tweet earlier, be it wingspan, be it honestly wingspan and physicality. That's really what it is, and it produces in a way that, like I said, transcends among any system. Hezonja, at the end of the day, if you can't shoot the ball, it doesn't necessarily matter. And we didn't. I need to get some stats to back this up here in the coming games, but did you happen to really see that much of the supposed fast break that we were going to be pushing?
There was basically zero of that fast break from what I saw. There was a few times where Hezonja was on the floor and the ball immediately went to Dame. And that's the thing is with Hezonja, in the preseason, obviously Stotts was trying to get him some opportunities, trying to see what he can do, see how the team can play with him. And I'm guessing that he'll get opportunities like that against lesser opponents than the Nuggets, teams like the Hawks, maybe even the Kings coming up this next game.
That's fair.
But the thing is, it was kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out, where Stotts wanted to have the whole second unit play, but he didn't want to give them free reign when any of them were playing with the starters, and it was just a little awkward for me, which makes sense. I mean, I talked about there's going to be growing pains. I expected the Blazers to lose this game, hoped they would win it. But there's going to be growing pains in that way. And I think that's the key to it is Hezonja to me looked like, and I understand him to be Mo Harkless playing like Evan Turner, essentially, if we're relating it to last season, where a lot of his stats relate and his skills, I guess, relate to Mo Harkless, but he plays like Evan Turner. And if he's not having the ball in his hands like Evan Turner, he's not going to do well. And we saw that with Evan Turner last season when he got a couple triple-doubles late in the season, when he had more free reign, when he felt confident, when he felt comfortable.
But there was a point where Hezonja was on the floor, and it was him, Anthony, CJ, oh goodness, Zach, and I can't remember that other fourth player, but it was all shooters, and it was him on the floor. I'm fine with that. I'm absolutely fine with that. As for having this full-fledged second unit, I'm fine with that too, along with the nights that we play, like you said, Atlanta and some of these fringe playoff teams, because that's an opportunity to build chemistry. I also understand it's the first game of the year.
Yeah.
But I think that once we find ourselves, and I shouldn't say once the Portland Trail Blazers find themselves in kind of these heavyweight matchups, before there's some substantial chemistry built, it's not the time to necessarily play that full-fledged second unit. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I'm with you. This is the Denver Nuggets. They were the 2 seed in the West last year. We barely beat them in the Western Conference semifinals. The Denver Nuggets team could have gone on to win the finals had they won that Game 7 potentially. So, to me, they definitely wanted this one. It didn't help them that Jokic was out for most of the game. He still played amazing when he did play. And I thought Whiteside played extremely well against him. Whiteside sagged off on a lot of threes, and I think it really just came to him being a little tired. I think it's one of two things. Either Stotts' defensive setup, where I think Stotts honestly was a little more like, okay, let's help on defense, let's do this, and it kind of confused the players. Whereas for me, I'm just like, these guys can hit threes. You got to be playing on your man constantly.
Yeah. And Torrey Craig ended up with 10 just off the bench, 2 for 3 behind the arc, 4 for 6, efficient. And none of these guys really shot a high volume of 3 aside from Murray, but they all, shot over 50%.
Yeah. And I'll say in pretty much every aspect of the game, this game was a win. The only thing that lost it was the 3-pointers. And the 3-pointers are huge. Like, Jokic struggled inside. Hassan played great defense. A lot of the Blazers played great defense. But the 3-pointer is worth more points than a 2-pointer. And it doesn't matter how many steals you get. It was awesome to see Bazemore get some 6 steals. He had 3 steals total. 5 steals total, my goodness. Mm-hmm. He had 3 steals at the time when he had like 2 or 3 straight possessions where he got a steal. But then they weren't capitalizing on the other end. Yeah, and there was a lot of good blocks, a lot of good steals. Yeah, and it just wasn't turning into points, which was the unfortunate part. But really, I mean, Whiteside was demolishing. Lillard did everything I wanted him to do. 3 for 10 from 3-pointers. So I'd like for him to make 1 or 2 more. But I mean, it was a really good game. It just if going into that game, to me, if it's like, what's the one thing that needs to happen for the Blazers to win? It's literally just like limit the 3-pointers, stay on your man. Like, I can understand if the Nuggets have a better play and they're passing the ball around, and in getting lost in the sauce, one dude ends up being open and he makes a 3-pointer. I can live with that. I can't, like, okay, I'm just a fan, whatever. I can live through anything. But I'm not happy with, looking the guy in the face and just being too far away and he drains it. Because that happened from at least 6-7 Nuggets tonight.
Yeah, and I've always been told, both in business and in personal life, worry about the things that you can control. And let's say even if some of those things were controllable, let's bring it back down to what maybe we could have done as a team. And I think that these things are correlated. I think that Anthony shooting 2 for 7 and 0 for 2 behind the arc. Obviously, it's his first game seeing some real minutes in an NBA game, and it's against a real opponent, as we already previously discussed. It just kind of seemed like a confidence thing for him. But obviously, there's that hesitation behind the arc where he ended up going to the rack, and that it's just he's got the game. It's just a confidence thing, and he'll get there, right? He's going to get there, just like some of these other guys are going to get into the chemistry of the team. But I think that Anthony going 2 for 7 and 0 for 2 behind the 3-point line, and then CJ going 5 for 18, which that's not going to happen. I think everybody and their mother would say that. Those two players are going to spread the floor. The only other guy that really spread the floor consistently tonight was Rodney, who I'm actually pretty satisfied with performance-wise on 5 for 10.
Yeah.
Still, he shot under 50%. I shouldn't even say that as a baseline for 3-point shots. That's just how good Denver was shooting tonight. Rodney went 2 for 5. But the point being is, my take on the situation is, those 10 threes that Dame shot, I would bet you money, going back and looking at the film tomorrow, that 6 or 7 of those were Damian Lillard threes. Not NBA, not NBA spot up, not open look, not ball around the arc passes. The court needs to be spread, and nobody was giving a reason for it to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
as I'm watching the game, like looking down the player list, 10 players played tonight. Damian Lillard killed it. CJ McCollum missed shots, but he played well. He had -10 in the box plus minus, but it's whatever. Rodney Hood killed it. Zach Collins did really well. Hassan Whiteside absolutely crushed it. Gave up some key 3-pointers to Jokic that really kind of put a sour taste in my mouth. But, I mean, he played hard all game. So, even if it's because he's tired, I'm fine with it. Like, it's okay.
And props to a first a player who's coming off of a first all NBA team as a center for making that adjustment, being basically non-existent in the first quarter and the second, and barely starting to get the momentum going in the second quarter, and still ending up shooting 8 for 14 on 20 points, and 3 for 5 behind the arc. He, game recognized game. He said, okay, this guy can really bother me on the block. I'm an all NBA player. I'm going to spread the floor. Yeah. And he did. So, I mean, that's, I like
Jokic is clearly like a top 10 player in the league, and he played like it.
Which is crazy because he's not in good shape. And I really waited a long time to say that. And I know it's kind of this like berated point on NBA Twitter, but like, I looked at it tonight. I saw some of the tweets, and obviously I'm probably in the Blazers Twitter sphere, but he's not in good shape. And if anything, he kind of almost looks in worse shape now than he did last year.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not going to Denver Nuggets practices or even games in person to see this guy, and I don't know. But can you imagine if that guy had just lost 30 pounds in the offseason? I that's a dangerous player, man.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know how much it helps or hurts.
That's true.
I mean, obviously, like, being in shape is good and helpful in basketball where you run a lot. But, he had a lot of early fouls. I don't know how much, just being out of shape and potentially lazy it is. I'm not saying that he is either of those things, because obviously he's still an amazing basketball player. But, I wonder, like, would a little more athleticism suit him better, or is he better as this big guy that no one can really defend? But that's the thing. Hassan Whiteside did pretty well on the inside, at least. So looking through the rest of the Blazers, like as I'm watching, to me it was Simons and Labissiere did great. Labissiere, I don't know. Simons, he was 2 for 7, but he made he had a sick dunk. That was awesome. And then he had an awesome layup where, I don't know, it was like in midair, changing direction, bringing it up. It was just beautiful. I'm visualizing it. It's hard to describe. I watched it in person. It's been a while. Labissiere, he just did great. He had great energy. He was getting rebounds. He played good defense, good hands-up defense for the most part, especially against Mason Plumlee and Jokic. I think he played against Jokic too.
And they noted that he was a starter for Sacramento in the 2017-2018 season. And I remember vaguely noticing that because look, people, if you've listened to the show and you don't know this by now, I started paying attention, like really paying attention when LA was just starting to get into his crazy years in Portland. So I'm a little bit late to the party. As for paying attention to the Sacramento Kings, I'm a little bit late to that party too. But that being said, I remember still watching some games and noticing his game. And Christian, I know we have some critique out there regarding our pronunciation with, I don't even know if that's a word, whatever, players' last names. Labissiere, I think he's French.
I've heard that the R is in there though. Labissiere. It's like the Haitian French puts the R in there or something. I don't know. Maybe normal French does too.
Well, that's oddly specific to be on the fence about. But this is what we should do. One of our upcoming guests, we should just have like a phonetics specialist with the Blazers, someone who's just for some odd reason just like super good with these technicalities, come on the show and be like, this is how tall this person is, this is how you pronounce their name, and this is where they're from, and this is their favorite meal. If that's you, please send us a DM. We'd love to have you.
Yeah. But I'll say 3 big disappointments from this game, other than 3-point shooting that I've talked about a million times. Anthony Tolliver, he was just a guy out there. He didn't really do anything. His shot didn't look all that good. I personally haven't had high expectations for him this season, and it's one game, and I'm not going to overreact to it. I'm sure he could show up and hit some big threes. But to me, it's like, okay, I don't know. He's there to shoot threes, and if he doesn't make them, then he's doesn't really serve a purpose. But if he's going to hit them like Aminu does, I'd rather have that coming off the bench than starting. So that's nice. And then Hezonja, another nice thing, I guess, is maybe he's a little lower on the bench than 6-man Evan Turner before, but I don't know. He's probably the first. No, I guess Kent Bazemore's 6-man. So it's kind of nice to have that a little deeper in the bench. The starters played great. I really liked how the starters played. But yeah, it was Tolliver, Hezonja, and the Moda Center emptied out way too quickly. I noticed that. Dude, it was like really disappointing. It's like it's the 50th anniversary season. Like Damian Lillard is loyalty to the max. Like, let's be loyal to him and let's stay to the end of the game. That's just me. I don't know. I always stay through, like, even if it's a blowout on either end. I stay to the end. So it was really disappointing to see, like, last minute, still like 7-point game, 47 seconds left, and the Blazers had the ball. And it's like, are they going to win it? Probably not. But, like, it's still possible. And, like, do you want to be the guy who missed out on the crazy comeback? I don't know.
Do you think that we're gonna start seeing more of that? I mean, it's good. Okay, in my opinion, it's a good problem to have. And if you look at it through a certain scope, right? Like, I think that it's a certain. If you look at like big market franchises, that behavior is not unique. That happens all the time in big market franchises. Obviously, it's happened in years past, and the Blazers haven't been very good. But do you think we're going to start seeing some more of these kind of fringe fans, people that are like, hey, hey, the Blazers are in the Western Conference Finals. My cousin told me about it last week. A fan's a fan, whatever, that's fine. But, certain things come along with that. And as much as I appreciate all my friends, especially down here in Arizona, that have started to, in the middle of this podcast recording, I just had someone that I met last year send me a video of Dame's spin off of Mason Plumlee with the dunk on Murray. So
that was sick.
That's not things that happened 5 years ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm curious how much of that, maybe I'm just speculating too much, but I'm curious how much of that has to do with the success that is coming along with the Blazers, where it's like, oh, whatever, we'll leave the game early. They're the Blazers, which is like, we didn't hear that in years past, but I think I may be just overanalyzing a bit.
No, yeah, I think it's funny because back when the Rose Garden turned to Moda Center, there was all this talk of, oh, well, it's the next step for the franchise. That's the thing you do. It gets you more money, this and this. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like the Madison Square Garden, the Boston Garden, whatever it's called. I don't know. TD Garden. I don't know what's called. Yeah. But it's like these iconic places don't have to have names like the American Airlines or whatever. It's like, no, like Rose Garden is iconic. Like, I don't know how you can even justify calling that. It's a step in the right direction. Like, yeah, money's cool, whatever. Like, money gets you contracts and players, sure. But, when Paul Allen was the owner and he was top 20 richest person in America? I don't know. He was at least a billionaire. I just didn't really see that being a good move. I'm cool with Moda Center. I'm cool with Moda Health, all that. But it's like, just kind of weird to me. And that's the thing is with like, that's what you get when you get more fans. But it's like, no, like Portland is different. Portland needs to show that it's different, and they stick around and they support Dame no matter what. And like, it was like, I could like, this is going to be a little too far, but I could like kind of tell when Dame missed one of those free throws where I was like, I feel like he wants us to be chanting MVP because he had great stats and the game was close. And for some reason, the crowd just wasn't in it in that way. There were some good defense chants. By the way, still going to call out whoever's in charge of like Blazers games, whatever's going on in that Jumbotron, because the fact that for years it's just been defense and let's go Blazers is ridiculous. It's so dumb. Like there's so many things you could chant. Hilarious. There's no 3-syllable thing. You could say Rip City. Rip City. It's not the easy, like it doesn't flow quite as well as like OKC, I guess, but like it's ridiculous that there's only 2 chants. And like I can understand not wanting people to chant constantly because my voice is gone in 20 minutes anyway, but like, goodness, get some other chants. It gets so repetitive.
This is what I need to talk about what I'm about to talk about.
All right, bring it.
All right.
I need water. Yum.
First and foremost, I just want to give a shout out to Paul Allen. We haven't really had a chance to discuss. I mean, I'm sure we did in season 1, pretty obscurely, what he meant to this franchise and who he was as a person. I don't know if you had a chance, Christian, to watch this recent Bill Gates special on Netflix. By any chance?
No. I shook my head. Sorry, didn't realize you were.
Hey, and honestly, the best policy. We are working with very minimal technical standards over here, and Christian has been stuck in the same hilarious pose on my end of the screen for the last 15 to 20 minutes. So yeah, but no, yeah. So I watched that bit, and the way that Bill Gates talks about Paul Allen is so indicative of what Portland and the Northwest kind of represents in my mind. And this is coming from somebody who has lived, hundreds of miles away for over 2 years now. And Paul Allen was a rebel. He was somebody who was a friend before anything else, and was a hobbyist that just took it to the extreme. And just as many times as Bill was like, hey man, let's, you got to work 18-hour days, that we're building something here. Paul was like, listen, man, I'm just trying to play my guitar. This is like, here, I'm here to support you, like, blah, 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 blah. But like, it's so, I know this is such a tangent, but I just really want to pay my respects to that man, because I think he had a huge role in what Portland meant, and what it represented when it started reflecting his character in everything that the Blazers do. And I'm, like I said 5 to 10 minutes ago, I'm really pretty new to what the Blazers have encompassed in their history, right? I mean, there's a lot of old heads in the Blazers Twitter sphere that talk about this player, that player, this era, that era. If there's one thing I know for certain, it's that Paul Allen had a lasting impact, and I just really want to say that we miss him, and I'm really happy to hear that his sister decided to kind of retain that responsibility. And I think that was for the betterment of the franchise. And I absolutely have no idea where I was going to go with that point other than that, Christian. But I just felt the need to pay my respects to Mr. the Paul Allen.
All right, so wrapping up game 1. That game was good. It was the biggest growing pain, I think, was just Terry Stotts figuring things out and figuring out how to defend against the Denver Nuggets. But I think the team did really well at playing together. Obviously, there were some turnovers that didn't need to happen, but that's going to happen. It wasn't too much to complain about, in my opinion. I think they did really well. But yeah, I mean, I was just really happy with it. This team looked like a team that's like ready to contend already. They look like one of the best teams in the West already, with just this much more three-point shooting. That game is 3-point defense. That game is easily a win, in my opinion. And I think they'll bring that to the rest of the games in these next 13 out of the next 20 games when they're on the road, when they're trying to figure out who they are, identity as a team. So I'm stoked.
And my last sentiment, my friend, would just be that if we're not going to live up to the fast break offense that we've promised, which Tara and all of us have already discussed the viability of that promise last episode, then let's run some actual set plays. I understand that's out. I understand that's outside of the Terry Stotts forte, but our good friend Tori had made a point and tweeted that the Terry Stotts offense sometimes can just be kind of accidental, if that's the word for it, and that's good when you have players that have longevity and chemistry. But right now, I think we need to, if we're not going to do the whole fast break and effort based thing, we got to just throw a couple set plays in there. That's the last thing I wanted to say.
I was very disappointed when I saw the second unit in. There was not a single starter, and the ball went from the far right corner, pass, no cuts, nothing. Just pass it around and see what happens. And no one knew what to do. It's like, what are you doing? If it's the second unit, none of you are skilled enough to really do something impactful on your own right this second. You need a play to open something up. I was like, what is going on? That was 2 straight possessions. So that was pretty wild for me. I was like, oh my gosh, that's going to take some work right there. And there was one time where starters were in for the most part. Bazemore was in also. Ball started in one corner. Player could have shot it. I don't remember who it was. They passed it to Baze. Baze could have shot it, and it would have been perfect. And he passed it to Zach Collins. And then Zach Collins like, well, I guess I got to shoot it now. And he shot it, and he missed. He airballed it. But it was like, dude, Bazemore, take that shot. You were open enough to take it. Just go for it. Don't pass it to Zach Collins and hope for the best.
Yeah, a lot of worries associated with the Bazemore Hezonja combo at this moment, but I guess it's first game of the year.
Yeah, Baze brought intensity. He had 5 steals. I was pretty stoked about that. I think his shot will come and go, and that he'll improve in the near future. So real quick, before we finish off around the NBA, obviously the Battle of LA happened. The Clippers beat the Lakers. Kawhi wrecked without Paul George helping out. Injured. A few other things. Let's see. The Nets, Kyrie hit 50 points
50
in the
ball
game with the Nets,
no
and he lost
turnovers
to the Timberwolves in overtime.
Mm-hmm.
So good.
No turnovers, and he had Layman shook. I saw on a tweet he did one of these behind the back kind of hezzy moves and had Layman shook for a minute. But I also heard that Mr. Jake the Snake actually had himself a little bit of a good game, at least for a portion of the minutes. But yeah, continue, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, I was at the Blazers Nuggets game, and I barely know what people are saying about it. I don't know what people are saying about other games because I was busy watching a basketball game and driving and walking.
There you go.
So yeah.
Well, and hey, so as we wrap up, I just want to go ahead and note that let me pull up the specific information here. But Christian had noted that he was actually at the game. We hope to have in the first week of November, little sneak peek if you're still listening to us rant, our good friend, the head chef of Levy Restaurants, Jessica Barnes, aka Chefy Helms. I don't know if that's because she's at the helm of the chefiness, but yeah, so we're going to try to have a little bit more of a personal game goer guest here to tell you guys about the new cuisine and beverages you may experience at the Moda Center in the coming weeks.
Sounds good, dude. So what is coming up for the Blazers? They are going to Sacramento, and this Friday playing October 25th against the Kings. They're going to stay on the road, go to Dallas, play this Sunday, the 27th, and then go to San Antonio, the 28th, to play the Spurs, and then going to Oklahoma City to play the Thunder. So hopefully we probably won't be able to cover that Thunder game next week, but we'll be covering the Kings, Mavericks, and Spurs in next week's episode. So hopefully the Blazers will win at least 2 of those. We'll see.
Yeah. Comment on YouTube. Shoot us a message on Twitter. Shoot. Add us on Twitter, whatever you want to do, and let us know if there's any specific topics or players that you'd like us to watch for.
Yeah, and it's a late night episode, so sorry for a little on the tiredness. My voice is obviously gone, and yeah.
Who are we featuring for our musical renditions this evening, Christian?
Well, we are definitely gonna have some Ziggy Zay in there, at least on the video, and then we're definitely gonna get some. He goes by Mashoni. We're gonna get Mashoni on the podcast version for sure. And we'll mix and match in there. We'll let you know in the details.
And we'll grab some new audio here from him shortly. Thank you to Ziggy and Mashoni for providing said audio. As always, you folks can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and never on Facebook. Maybe on each of our individual accounts on Facebook for the time being, but I mean most of our audience is not on Facebook, so definitely find us at Peeps and Plaid. Rate, subscribe, like, all that jazz, and thank you folks for listening, and we look forward to speaking with you next week.
Yeah, we run it up to the max. Running straight ahead, we ain't never looking back. They try to tell me it's the road like I'm Jack, but I ain't never leaving, trying to put us on the map. So we run it, yeah, we run it. We run it up, run it. We run it up. Yeah, we run it up, yeah, we run it to the bank. Hey, yeah, we turn it up, yeah, we turn it to the crank. Okay, fly Lil Robin and we in that Bruce Wayne. Bolting to the bag like the name was Usain. Yeah, we RUNITUP. Running up the score, balling on these new teams on a new thing, and I don't know about no hoop dreams. Nah, still shooting shots, and if I miss no move swings, got a gift and I'ma use it step by step. I got the blueprint to success. I thought you knew it. You was next and now you blew it. Talk cream, I got the cool whip. I'm the teacher, you the student. You're gonna ask why is this rap I speak it fluent. Ain't no miscues or issues. Change if I diss you. You gonna come at me, just know nobody gonna miss you. Ain't no miscues or issues. Change if I diss you. You gonna come at me, just know nobody gonna miss you. Nah, yeah, we run it up to the max. Running straight ahead, we ain't never looking back. They try to tell me it's the road like I'm Jack, but I ain't never leaving, trying to put